So Friday, April 25th, uh, it was quite something. A sitting judge arrested, and suddenly it was, well, everywhere.
Yeah, national news instantly.
We're jumping straight into that today, the arrest of Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge Hannah Dugan.
Mm-hmm.
And our goal really is just to unpack the key details, the context, and figure out why this local thing blew up nationally. Give you what you need to know fast.
Right. And we're drawing on the various reports covering the arrest itself and the events leading up to it. It's fundamentally about this clash, isn't it? Federal immigration versus state courts.
Exactly. So Judge Dugan is facing 2 federal felony charges. What are they again?
Obstruction and concealing an individual, that individual being Eduardo Flores Ruiz.
Okay. Doro Flores Ruiz, a Mexican national.
Yes, correct. And these charges stem from an incident on April 18th.
Okay, so rewind a week before the arrest, April 18th. What happened then?
Well, according to the reports, ICE agents were at the Milwaukee County Courthouse. They were there to arrest Flores Ruiz following a court appearance he had.
And Flores Ruiz. He had a history.
He did. He'd been deported once before, apparently back in 2013. And locally, he was facing misdemeanor battery charges.
Gotcha. And this whole thing isn't happening in a vacuum, right? There's this backdrop of increased federal immigration enforcement.
Absolutely. And the ongoing, often heated debate about so-called sanctuary jurisdictions. It all feeds into this.
And the reactions, I imagine, were pretty strong.
Oh, definitely divided. You have federal officials defending the arrest, arguing Dugan obstructed their agents, public safety concerns.
But then the other side.
You've got state officials, local leaders, many legal experts condemning it, calling it federal overreach, an attack on judicial independence, that sort of thing.
Okay, let's get into the specifics of what Judge Dugan is actually accused of doing on the 18th.
Right. The allegations are that she first confronted the ICE agents, questioned their warrant specifically. It was an administrative warrant, not a judicial one.
Ah, okay. That distinction seems important. Administrative versus judicial.
Very important. The reports say she questioned that, told them to leave her area near the courtroom, and then allegedly escorted Flores Ruiz out of the courthouse herself.
Escorted him out. How?
Through a restricted exit. The criminal complaint mentions a jury door, which isn't for public use.
Wow, okay. And people are drawing parallels to another case, aren't they, from a few years back?
Yes, exactly. The 2019 case involving Massachusetts Judge Shelley Joseph, very similar situation, federal charges for allegedly helping someone avoid ICE in her courthouse.
And what happened with that case?
That case was eventually dismissed, so having that precedent really makes this Dugan situation feel, quite critical, a real flashpoint.
So just to recap the arrest itself on the 25th,
Mm-hmm.
Judge Dugan faces that obstruction charge, potential 5 years, and the concealment charge, potential 1 year.
Correct. All stemming from her alleged actions on April 18th, interfering with ICE agents who had that administrative warrant for Flores Ruiz and that detail about using the jury door.
So we have these really starkly different views. Federal side, obstruction of justice, essentially.
Yep, it's obstructing lawful enforcement, compromising safety. That's their line.
Versus the state and local perspective. This is about protecting the courts, judicial independence, maybe even political overreach.
That's the counter-argument, protecting the judiciary from federal intrusion and questioning the appropriateness of ICE making arrests inside a state courthouse, especially with just an administrative warrant.
Let's circle back to that warrant type. Why is administrative versus judicial such a sticking point here?
Well, it gets into legal authority. An administrative warrant is issued internally by an agency, like ICE. It doesn't typically carry the same weight or require the same judicial review as a warrant signed by a judge, which needs probable cause reviewed by a neutral magistrate. The question is whether an administrative warrant is sufficient grounds for ICE to operate inside a state courthouse like this.
Okay, that clarifies things. And you mentioned policies earlier. It feels like that's unavoidable here.
It does seem that way. The reactions often fall along predictable lines, and you definitely hear accusations from some quarters about political motivations or the, weaponization of federal agencies. It's part of the conversation.
So if you're trying to grasp the core issues quickly, what are the main takeaways?
I mean, fundamentally, this case throws a spotlight on federalism, that tension between federal power and state authority. It's about where those lines are drawn, especially inside state institutions like courthouses.
And the whole ICE and courthouses debate.
Exactly. There are real concerns about the impact this has. Could it create a chilling effect? Make immigrant communities afraid to access the justice system, even as victims or witnesses? That's a major point being raised.
Right. So considering that Judge Joseph case ended in dismissal and seeing the strong opinions flying around Judge Duggan, maybe the thing for you, the listener, to chew on is this. What does this incident really signal about where things stand between federal and state governments today, and how is the judiciary caught in the middle of these really complex legal and, frankly, political fights? Is this just one incident, or are we seeing a pattern emerge here?